All right, everyone, let's talk about one of the hottest topics in CS2 right now, the Armory Pass. We're going to figure out if this thing is a smart way to build up your skin collection, or if it's just a really clever way for Valve to get into your wallet. Let's get into it.
So this is the big question, right? The one everyone's asking. Can you actually make a profit grinding out games and redeeming stars? Or, are you way better off just heading to the market and buying the skins you want directly?
Hey everyone, I'm nerd_cs2, and I'm super excited you're here for my very first explainer. My goal is really simple. I want to cut through all the noise and just give you the hard data and the solid strategies you need to make the right call for your own inventory.
Okay, so here's the game plan. First, we'll quickly cover the basics of how the Armory even works. Then we'll get into the most important number in this whole discussion, ROI. After that, we'll see how that theory stacks up in a real-world test. We'll break down the different strategies you can actually use. And finally, we'll land on a verdict to help you decide if the pass is for you.
First things first, let's just make sure we're all on the same page. We need to know what the Armory Pass is and how you actually use it before we can talk about making money with it.
So the Armory is basically an exclusive in-game shop. To get access, you got to buy the Armory Pass, which will set you back $15.99. That purchase instantly hooks you up with 40 Armory credits, which, let's be real, everyone just calls stars. And a key thing to know is that these passes and stars never expire, so there's no rush.
Earning more stars is super straightforward. You just play the game, hop into Premiere, Deathmatch, whatever, and you earn XP. That XP then automatically gets converted into more stars, and you can spend those stars in the Armory like cash to get your items. It's really that simple.
Now, for anyone looking to be efficient, here's the key takeaway. If you want to farm XP as fast as humanly possible, the data is pretty clear. On average, Deathmatch is your best friend. It just gives you the most consistent XP for the time you put in.
All right, let's get to the real heart of it. How does all this playing and grinding actually translate into potential profit? Well, to figure that out, we have to wrap our heads around one key idea: return on investment.
You've probably heard this term ROI thrown around. It's just a percentage that tells you how profitable something is. So if you see an ROI of, say, 120%, it just means that on average, for every $100 you spend, you can expect to get $120 back. Anything over 100% means you're making money. And this is where things start to look really good. I mean, you go on tracking sites and the numbers are just insane. You see ROIs of 132%, 128%. It looks like pretty much every collection is a winner. On paper, it seems like you literally can't lose.
So with numbers like that, it feels like a done deal, doesn't it? You spend stars, you make money. What could be easier?
Whoa, not so fast. This is probably the single most important thing to understand. That amazing ROI, it's an average. It's calculated over thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of redemptions. If you only have 40 stars, or even 200, your personal results can be, and often are, wildly different. Nothing is guaranteed.
So, what happens when all this theory gets put to the test by a real player? Let's check out a case study and see how those shiny averages hold up when the rubber meets the road.
So, check this out. YouTuber Slyke ran an experiment. He did exactly what a lot of people think is the smartest move. He redeemed 153 stars worth of brand new items on the very first day of an update. Then he sold everything the second the trade lock was up to cash in on all that hype. So, how did it go?
And, well, this kind of says it all, doesn't it? Those 153 stars cost him about $56 to get. But after he sold all the items he redeemed, his total return was just $42. The numbers don't lie.
Yep, that's a 25% net loss. Ouch! So even though he played it perfectly, getting the newest items and selling right at the peak of the hype, he still ended up losing a big chunk of change. This is what happens when a small sample size meets a statistical average. Okay, so if blindly following the hype can lead to a disaster, what are the smart moves? This is where having a real strategy comes into play. So let's break down a few different ways you can approach this, depending on your goals and how much risk you're willing to take.
First up is the low-risk strategy. If your goal is just to minimize your losses and aim for slow, steady returns, you want to focus on cheap stuff like stickers. Think about it. For 40 stars, you get 40 chances. The more attempts you have, the more likely your results will start to look like that profitable average ROI. Some of the charm collections can also work here, since a few of them have a pretty good chance of pulling something valuable.
Now, if you're more of a gambler, there's the high-risk, high-reward strategy.
This means you're targeting the super expensive collections, like the Sport and Field. But here's the catch. Over 60% of that collection's entire value is packed into the super rare pink and red items. You're basically betting it all on hitting the lottery with a massive pull like an M4A4 fade.
Then there's the 4D chess move, the long-term strategy. This is for the patient investors. It's all about trying to figure out which collections Valve might remove from the armory soon. See, historically, when an item's supply gets cut off, its price tends to go up over time. It definitely takes research and patience, but it can pay off big.
All right, we've gone through the mechanics, the risks, the numbers, the strategies, all of it. So let's bring it all home and finally answer that first big question. Should you buy the Armory Pass?
The truth is, the answer is different for everyone. It's a definite yes if you're already playing CS2 a ton, you don't have a giant budget to invest in skins, and you just kind of like the fun of getting a lucky drop from your gameplay. But it's probably a no if you've got a bigger bankroll to work with, you can't stand the idea of grinding for XP, and you'd rather make your money by playing the market smart.
And let's end with this really powerful thought from someone who's already done all the math. For serious investors, almost all the profit, 95% in this case, comes from just buying and selling these items on the market, not from redeeming stars. In fact, when you think about it, redeeming stars just adds more supply to the market, which can actually hurt your long-term investment.
So there you have it. The choice is yours. Now that you have the data and the playbook, you get to decide your path. Are you going to be the grinder, earning your way through sheer gameplay? Are you the gambler, chasing that one huge life-changing pull? Or are you the investor, patiently and strategically playing the market? Thanks for tuning in.